Okay. Hello, everyone. So I was already introduced. I work at Positive Technologies, and my main concern is security of signaling networks. So basically, all the mobile research, including SS7 diameter, but today we're going to focus on mobile signaling threats and vulnerabilities and the real interesting cases that come during our project. So briefly, the history of the SS7. So the signaling system number 7, it was introduced like in 80s, and it was a trusted network. And basically, that was a set of protocol that is used for control plane and for exchanging data between network devices in telco networks. And the SS7 actually introduced such functions like establishing the fallback, for example, between 3G, 2G network when they were introduced, subscriber mobility management, location-based service, and some supplementary services like call forwarding and so on. And for sure, the SMS messages. So the history, it was introduced in 80s. Then in 2000, the new specification was developed. It's SIGTRAN. So basically, the SS7 stack was put on the IP protocols, and that way it actually was a push to connect for many different, not only the normal operators, the cable that we were used to before, but also virtual operators, mobile virtual network operators, and value-added services provider. And now in the 2018, there are lots of them. So basically, we have regular MNOs, like more than 800. And if you take virtual and value-added service providers, it's going to be more than 2,000. So a lot of players on this field that are interconnected. And this ecosystem is not trusted anymore. So the problem is, so once a hacker connects to the SS7 network, for example, by SIGTRAN, so basically here, let's take here some software on his PC, he establishes a connection to some nodes in the operator premises, and he gets all the roaming agreements that this operator have with the other world, and he can be sitting anywhere just to reach any network that has a roaming agreement with the subscriber. So basically, even only LTE networks that don't use SS7, they need to convert the LTE traffic to 3G, 2G, SIGTRAN, SS7, and stuff like that to reach the operators that are 3G only, for example. And that's why the hacker is able to reach any network. And it's a big problem. Governments and global organizations are actually worried by the SS7 security. So, for example, American FCC, that's Federal Communications Commission, has recommended not to use an SMS as it is an untrusted way of transferring info. The ENISA, European Union Nation Agency for Network and Information Security, has issued a report on signaling security current situation of the European Union. And the GSMA is developing and has issued a lot of standards and documents to help securing the networks. So basically, we as GSMA members helped and contributed in these documents. So mobile operators, they are aware of the problem and they start implementing different security measures such as SS7 firewalls, SMS home routing solutions, security configuration of the border devices, and security monitoring, and also just to get the visibility of how your network stands, what's going on, how can a hacker see your network from the outside. They perform security assessment of the network. So it's like a penetration test in IT networks, but related to telecom. So we started researching signal insecurity in 2013, and in 2014 we issued our first report related to the SS7 and then later to the GPRS vulnerabilities. So basically since then, nearly every year we issue several reports related to either SS7 diameter or GTP vulnerabilities. If we take the statistics of last 3 years about the security assessment that we had for mobile operators, we can see that there is some progress for sure, but some threats are still at the same layer as they were. So basically, as you can see in this table, there are no threat that is like that is in less than 50% of network. For example, voice calls interception is possible in 53% of networks, which is really close to half of, but it's still a scary number. And the incoming SMS messages can be intercepted in 90% of cases. So we can see a good trend, but it's still not enough to be secured. And if we take a comparison for the last year, the SS7 compared to diameter, so basically we can see that all the same threats are present. The subscriber traffic interception here is absent for diameter because the diameter is not used for sending messages, and the voice calls are there were no YP for the test in the network. So basically, but if it's going to be available, I mean, it could be done. So basically, 4G networks are nearly the same vulnerable as the SS7. But the problem is the hackers are not that often up to attack diameter because they have the SS7 at hand. It's more vulnerable, and it's easy to implement. There are a lot of tools to use, and why would a hacker attack diameter if it's possible through SS7? And that's why all the interesting scenarios and cases, they actually come from the SS7 that we're going to observe today. So if we switch to signal monitoring projects, we can actually observe that almost 99% of attacks are related to disclosing confidential info about the subscriber. So 57%, that's IMSI disclosure. I'll tell you what IMSI is a little bit later. And location discovery is 42%. So IMSI is an identifier that is needed for further complicated attacks. And one of the security measures is SMS home routing. We're going to explore it later. And it is used for hiding this identifier. And if we take a comparison of network with the presence of the SMS home routing solution and the absence, we can actually see a pretty strange picture, because for threats like subscriber traffic interception, fraud, and subscriber information disclosure, the percentage of vulnerable networks is actually higher with the persistence of these mechanisms, security mechanisms. So it's pretty weird, but I can suppose that it happens because the operators just blindly trust some security measures. They don't care checking how it's working, and they don't care about another ways of complex approach of securing the network. Like, we installed an SMS home routing solution, we should be good. We won't check anything. And with the SS7 firewall, the picture is pretty good, because there is no such weird trend that that with the SS7 firewall, the network is more vulnerable. But it is actually still, because the firewall is kind of a dumb device that has to be properly configured. And with the help of the security assessment, it can be tested if it's working properly or not. And not all the operators perform that. And also the hackers grow, so they find a way to bypass the security measures. We're going to observe it today. And if you see that in 2050 we've never came across the SS7 firewall in the tested networks, and in the last year every third network had the blocking system in place. So before we go to the attacks, just a quick overview of main nodes you need to know. So the MSI is the end, that basically a subscriber number, the number that we dial, that we all used to. The global title is just like the same number, but that is used for network equipment. The same format. IMSI, that's International Mobile Subscriber Identity. It is used for the attacks, as I already told. The STP, signaling transfer point, that's basically signaling switch that is usually put on the border of the network. Home location register, that's a database of the subscribers. The MSC and the VLR, they usually go together. That's mobile switching center and visited location register. Mobile switching center is responsible for routing calls and messages, and the visited location register contains information about the profile of the subscriber and his location and stuff like that. And the SMSC is just SMS center that is used for processing, sending the SM messages. So an IMSI, this is the identifier that itself is not valuable to intruder itself, but the intruder has to know this identifier to perform further attacks. So for example, for location tracking, service disturbance, SMS interceptions, voice call eavesdropping, the IMSI is required. And the IMSI is considered a personal data as per GDPR, so now the operators have to protect giving away real identifiers to external networks. So let's observe the messages that are used for IMSI retrieval. So there are 4 of them, but only 3 of them can be blocked on the network border. 2 of them may be blocked on the home location register, and the 4th one cannot be blocked because it is used for getting routing information for sending the messages, and the SMS home routing as a protection tool is used by the operators. So the first attack is SMS home routing bypass. So first of all, I would like to show how the process of SMS delivery works without this system in place. So the SMS center sends the send routing info SM requests, and it is addressed by the telephone number of the subscriber. So basically, the SMS center telling that I have a message for your subscriber. Tell me where he is and his IMSI identifier. The HLR, the database, responds with the information about IMSI and MSC address. And then the MT terminating SMS message coming using that IMSI identifier and the SMS text, and it's coming to the MSC and then delivered to the subscriber. So if we take this procedure as per hacker, then the hacker can just use SRI4SM procedure just to get this identifier and never send the message. How is it being processed with the SMS home routing system in place? So the SRI4SM requests goes not straight to the HLR, but to the SMS router first, and the SMS router replies with the fake data, fake IMSI and SMS router address. So the SMS router inside of him creates a correlation of fake IMSI and real IMSI, and then the terminating message is sent addressing fake IMSI. And now the SMS router initiates internal procedure, now the same procedures, but using real identifiers, and delivers the message. So this way, there are like 2 procedures, external one and internal one. And this way, the IMSI is not given away for the messaging delivery. So how it works against malefactors? So pretty clear, the SMS router just give away the fake IMSI, and the hacker cannot use that fake IMSI to perform attacks on the subscriber. So couple of words about numbering plans. So there is a E164 numbering plan that is used for MSISDN and GT. That's all we know. So it contains of 3 parts. So the country code, so 40 for Romania, network destination code. I just took random ones, 700. Probably there are no such network in Romania. And the rest part is just subscriber identity. Another numbering plan that is used for IMSI. Again, it has mobile country code now, which is for Romania is 226. And mobile network code, that is 99. I just took random digits. Again, I think there are no operator with this. And the rest is just digits identify the subscriber. And there is a E214, that's a mobile GT numbering plan, which is actually a combination of E164 and E212. So the country code, the network destination code are taken, and the rest part is taken from the IMSI. And this numbering plan, so by these 2 blocks, we identify the operator, and the rest is identifies the home location register. So by that part of IMSI, the STP knows what HLR to transfer the message to, in case there are several of them. And this E214, this E214 numbering plan is usually used for update location messages, for instance, and that's when the subscriber moves to roaming and initiates a location update procedure. So trying to roam to register in a foreign VLR. So the STP, the border device, has a routing table. So for every incoming signaling message, it is processed by a set of rules in the routing table. And in this rule, for example, if the rule that has a numbering plan, E214, has more priority than operation code, SRI4SM, then it's going to be processed right to the HLR. So even if it is an SMS procedure, it won't be processed to the SMS router, but will be processed straight to the HLR. So that's why it is important for the operation code, SRI4SM, to have more priority than another numbering plans to be used, because the normal SRI4SM procedure uses E164 numbering plan, basically addressing by MSISDN, like this. And so if the hacker uses SRI4SM procedure with E214 and using a random IMSI just to create that MGT mobile global title address, and the E214 has more priority than opcode, SRI4SM, then it's going to be delivered to the HLR, and the HLR will respond with real identifier. So it's actually pretty simple and pretty easy to fix on the STP. So the malefactor for this attack needs to guess any IMSI from an HLR serving the target subscribers, but not only the biggest networks have several HLRs, so it's pretty simple to guess, even if there are more than one. Now, let's explore another way to bypass this system. So when a malefactor sends SRI4SM requests addressed by MSISDN, like normal, again, this should involve SMS router, and which replies with fake identifiers. How can intruder know that if the received data is correct or this IMSI is fake? So basically, if he tries this procedure for the same subscriber and get different IMSIs, then they are fake, definitely. And if they're going to be the same, that's most probably the real one. So now we're going to get to know the TCAP, Transaction Capability Application Part Protocol. So it consists of several blocks like message type, transaction ID, dialog portion, but for us, the block that is interesting is the application context name, which is in the blue on the screen. So application context value is just a set of numbers, and each number has its own definition. But basically, all these numbers, they are pretty much the same, always standard, and don't change. And the only thing that change is the application context name itself, like short message gateway here, and the version. And like if the mail factor would to corrupt the normal application context, so just using these first 6 digits and changing it randomly, what happens? So the STP gets a request with a malformed application context, and a lot of STP rules actually explore the application context, and if it refers to the SMS procedure, then they transfer the message to SMS router. But if the application context is unknown, STP will just route the message with malformed application context name to the HLR. And the HLR will respond with real identifiers. And this way, the SMS router is going to be aside. So, as I already told, equal IMSI means that the SMSM routing solution is absent or not involved. Now, firewall bypass. So, the couple of words about the SS7 firewalls. So, the most typical deployment scheme of the SS7 firewall looks like this. So, when an incoming signaling message comes to the border STP, the STP makes basically a loop through the SS7 firewall. So, if the message is not malicious, then it gets back to the STP, and then STP transfers to the designated node. But if the message is malicious, it's just going to be dropped on the SS7 firewall. So now we get back to the messages that are used for IMSI retrieval. So, and we now focus on the send routing info, the first one, which cannot be blocked on the HLR and which should be blocked on the network border. When a mail factor sends send routing info message to the network, the border STP sends it to the firewall, and the firewall just blocks that message. That's how it works. Now, let's remind the one thing that we call application context, like corruption. So let's try the same technique for this. Just try and change in application context for the SRI procedure now. So if the mail factor sent the SRI message with corrupted application context, the border STP doesn't transfer it to the firewall, but instead the message reaches HLR right away, and the hacker gets the real IMSI. So it's again about the rules on the STP. Although you implemented the SS7 firewall, the hacker, by manipulating with different fields, can make it stay aside. And the last one, I guess, for today, that is tricky location tracking. So this kind of attack actually uses some protection mechanism to hide the malicious activity. So for that reason, I need to explain again how the SMS delivery works. So the MSC tries to send a message for B subscriber from A subscriber, and he should transfer it with the MO, mount originating forward the same message. So the SMS sender requests the HLR for routing information, gets the IMSI, that's all happening inside of the networks, and initiates terminating procedure forward SM for the subscriber. and then acknowledges that the operation went successful, and then the message is delivered to the subscriber. So the hackers found a way to use it for spamming. So basically, you don't need acknowledgement for sending the message, and they just originate forward the same messages from their node, but they put the MSC1, the legal node, as a calling party. So basically spoof it, because most MSCs, they have a whitelist and they want to load the MO messages to be sent from a random node. And the procedure is completed, and the MSC1, the real MSC, actually gets return result about the transaction he didn't initiate. And so if the MSC, the owner of the MSC1 doesn't notify the operator, attacked operator, that he gets some acknowledges random, the operator will never know that someone is exploiting him. So for that reason, there was such thing like TCAP handshake as a protection measure. So now, to send MO message, the MSC initiates TCAP begin message with the required application context name, and the SMSC sends TCAP continue message. He's like telling, okay, that's you. Now I'm waiting a message from you. And then, only then, the MSC initiates originating message forward SM, and the same stuff basically happens. The SMSC is doing the same handshake with the MSC2. And then it's acknowledged with the return result. So, anytime interrogation message, since this case is about the location tracking, we're going to use one of the simplest anytime interrogation message in the SS7 that allows to get the location. So basically, it is used for intelligent network to receive the information about the location for location-based services. So when it is legal. So basically, how it works. The intelligent network node initiates anytime interrogation procedure, and the HLR initiates provide subscriber info, but it is already inside the network, and transferred the cell ID to the requesting node. So cell ID is basically a cell that is serving the subscriber. And this message is allowed only for internal operations, and it should be prohibited for external connections. Now, again, back to the SS7 firewall, a malefactor sends anytime interrogation, just knowing only the number of subscribers, the MSISDN, and the anytime interrogation goes to the SS7 firewall and is blocked. Now, is it possible to encapsulate a malformed location request into that TCAP handshake protection mechanism and receive result? So what a hacker does is he sends a TCAP begin message with the application context name that actually correlates with the anytime interrogation procedure. So he makes a handshake, but not in terms of the SMS application context, but using anytime info inquiry application context. And the STP transfer that right to the HLR because there are no operation code. You have nothing to explore basically by the SS7 firewall. And the handshake with TCAP continue from the HLR is proceeded to the hacker. And now, the hacker in TCAP continue component puts an prohibited anytime interrogation message using the subscriber number, and it is transferred to the HLR. And then HLR initiates internal procedure, provides subscriber info, receives cell identity, and transfer it back to the hacker in a TCAP end component. So the location request masked at the TCAP handshake is not blocked. and firewall is still aside. So to sum it up, I just wanted to say that most of the problems in the SS7 happen because of the architectural flow, mistakes in the configuration, and sometimes software bugs. So basically, all the 4 cases that we explored today, they can be solved with using the STP policies, if it's not that old STP. So all the 4 cases are possible to be solved just by the screening policies on the STP, and not without even without the SS7 firewall. But however, when you know like every flows that you need to protect, but finding these mistakes, finding these flows, it just requires a massive loads of work. So you close the application context thing, then the hacker finds some other field that he can corrupt, and it goes straight to the HLR for the IMSI, for example. So basically, the main problem is configuration mistakes. So I think that 30% of found vulnerabilities, or even more, they are related to just configuration mistakes. So what should the operators remember? So deploying security tool, it just doesn't mean that your network is secure. So from our statistics, about 67% of the SMS home routing solution on tested network were bypassed. So, you really have to test the network after you implement some new security measures, because it's a good practice to get a hacker view of your network from the outside. And for example, even if the operator is aware that, okay, I have some vulnerabilities, and I just cannot fix it right away, you need to know what is going on. So basically, okay, I don't have all the measures to fix vulnerabilities, but if I know what actually hackers are exploiting right now, so introduce security monitoring and just take the vulnerabilities that I exploited right now and start from them. It can really help, and it can really be a good reaction for the operator for some incidents. So I think that's it. Now the questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirill, and it's definitely sure that we have done something right, because people are queuing for questions. We have our first pre-announced question right here in the back, so we will take that one, and afterwards, who's with questions more? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Hi, very interesting presentation. I have one question. How an attacker get access to the SSS network? He need to create a BTS system or a SIM card from a provider, it's enough?
Okay, so basically that's the main question that actually worries hackers, how to get the SS7 network access. So you have to find the operator. So one of the easiest way, you have to find the operator that will give you the access to its equipment. So basically, you just have your software, you have your stack installed, you just have, for example, IPsec tunnel to some node or IP address at the end of the operator. And for example, you are looking for some operator with some Lex laws, that for some amount of money. There are a lot of experiments. We did it like 4 or 5 years ago, how much it's gonna cost to be legally. Because you can do it, like we have a connection that is legal, so we only use it for assessments, but if you are on the dark side, then you're gonna do it the black way. And so basically, I think when we did it, we found some operator in the Asia that the connection would have cost us $3,000 per month. And the Daily Beast journalist, last year, I think, last year, they also tried to find some operators in Europe, and basically the price has grown up 3 times, so it would have costed them 10K. And again, that's the easiest way, just paying money to some operator. But you can hack some border equipment, like finding some network telco nodes that are, like, for example, open in Shodan, like bad configuration settings on border equipment and stuff like that. But that's a really hard way. Just why not use the kind of legal connection?
Thank you. We've definitely have got to appreciate the resilience here in the front line. Then we're coming back to you. Are you doing this on a daily basis? Just
No. Thank you for the presentation. As it happens, I've looked into this before. I've written about SS7 attacks before, and to the other question, there are obviously multiple ways to gain access, including like setting up a virtual mobile operator and buying it from the dark market. There are a lot of nodes that are exposed to the internet and exposed to hacking, and this has happened before. My question is, does this work with the new diameter-based protocol for LTE networks, or are they SS7 only vulnerabilities? Because I know there are a lot of equivalents in SS7 functionality to diameter functionality, and diameter supports encryption, but there's no agreement between operators of who to set up the PKI for it.
Yeah. So it's actually a long discussion coming for years, and they just don't come up. They even want to encrypt the SS7, but it's just not possible now, and they cannot agree for the diameter. So basically, as I already told, the diameter has pretty much the same vulnerability and pretty much the same way you can get access to the diameter world. So just finding the operator who's going to connect you through the IPsec tunnel, and then, like, basically you are it. So even if he has encryption through some IPX gateway from that operator, you're going to be in that tube. So you don't need to hack anything. I mean, encryption exists, but it's only point-to-point.
thank you. We have another question in the first row here, and where else? Can you? Okay, no.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, will the future 5G networks resolve the main problem with the SF7 protocol?
Well, all of us are hoping so, but for now, like 4G plus network, they both use diameter. So 5G is gonna also use diameter, and diameter is not secured now. And I mean, as I already told, there were attempts to secure SS7, they failed. Like you can only do it locally inside of your operators. Like I'm secured. Please all my roaming partners, please do this, because my roamers come to your network and they attack. Like what the hell? And there are some attempts also for diameter, and I really hope that they're gonna be solved, but probably not after introduction 5G, but later. So. The world is gonna just converge to the 4G, I hope in 10 or 20 years, but the SS7 vulnerabilities and the diameter vulnerabilities, they're gonna be still in place.
Thank you.
So let's just hope for the good ones. And now the only operators have to do is just secure and encourage to secure others.
Thank you. We'll take the question from the back there. Try to raise your hands higher so that my colleague can see you, when your turn comes.
Hey, really nice presentation. So as opposed to the guys in the front, I don't know a lot about mobile networks and such, but I would be curious, like what would be like a starter's toolkit, or how do you start messing with that kind of data?
So you mean the entrance layer, the entrance level for the person who doesn't know anything about it, start to attack.
Like a sandbox toolkit or whatever to play with.
Basically, there are a lot of tools, mostly for SS7s, that are actually open source. So like those messages that we observed, without changing some application context parameters and stuff like that, but just using them as it is. There are a lot of open source tools, so if you just Google, so basically the level of entrance is really low, and that's what creates a problem. So if you Google, okay, you find some open source, and then you just start scripting, adding the fields where you can change parameters. So it's basically like, you know SCAPI. So for forming the packet in IP network, so that's basically the same for the SS7. Just the main problem is just get a connection, and then a lot of information on the internet, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you. There was someone in the back there. If the question is still valid, no? Then to the front, is that you? Yes, okay. We'll take that question, then we'll go to you, okay?
I would say it's a very nice presentation, and I would be curious if you made some performance assessments so as to figure out what are the potential overheads on the backend system when you implement these security measures on the mobile operators, servers, and
So you mean the performance?
Yes.
Degradation in performance?
Yes.
So basically, there might be some problem with the firewalls because the messages need to have extra hops and stuff like that. But basically, in the signaling control plane, the delays, the transaction can handle like for seconds, so it's not so critical if, for example, because of the hop, you get 0.5 millisecond more. So you won't feel it like you're making a call, okay, oh, it's taking too long, maybe they implemented an SS7 firewall. No, that's not going to happen. So basically, this is a good practice, and it doesn't require huge resources.
And regarding the CPU time of the servers, of the operator servers?
Well, again, the operators, what operators like is just using the telco equipment that has already proved like 5 nines,
okay,
stability and stuff like that. And now, what the huge vendors do, so they are telling the operators, don't buy a third-party firewall, we'll just buy an update from us, or upgrade the equipment, and we're going to have all of this, and the customer experience won't suffer in case like the server with the firewall fails and don't route the traffic back or stuff like that. So basically, when using the telco equipment with the protection measures, it's always good.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We have a question here in your hand. Oh, yes, in the middle. And anyone else after this one?
Suppose I'm a malevolent agent with access to the network, to the SS7 network.
So sorry, who?
I'm an evil agent with access to the network.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how I got access to it. How would I go about monetizing it? Suppose I don't care to just eavesdrop on people communicating on the network. How do I make money out of this?
So you sell that service. There are a lot of websites that actually suggest VLAR lookups and stuff like that. It's mostly about getting the location of the subscriber. It's really popular. So you just put it on a web-based selling service, and that's the easiest way to monetize it. For sure, you can find some other.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry?
Hey, it's your head.
Yeah, so basically, stealing money. So there was a case in 2017 that was revealed in May about Telefonica O2. You probably, some of you probably heard of that. So the hackers, as a first step, they just gathered the logins and the passwords of bank accounts, and then got the SS7 connection, and then they intercepted the one-time password and stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, but you have to use other means like malware for getting the logins, so it's a little bit difficult. I was talking about just a pure SS7 monetizing.
Thank you. We have a question here in the front row. The first row group.
Hello. First, thanks for the good talk. You were speaking about security monitoring in the SS7 networks. I was wondering just which data is used and which are the events that you collect from the SS7 network. So, for example, you can find a malicious actor.
So basically, that the attacks. So I mean, we also have a monitoring, security monitoring platform, and what we do, we put our knowledge there. Yeah, and so the stuff we can do as a hacker, it detects. So that's basically simple. So if, I mean, for every message, like JSMA also issued like recommendations, like this message should be blocked on the border. That's just simple. I'm just for example. And if you put that logic in the monitoring system, it will notify you unless something happens. For example, someone got the IMSI and then got the location, then you can just quickly react not to get a fake update locations for SMS one-time passwords interception and stuff like that. So basically, it's really good with a combination of a blocking system. So for example, you saw something, you just right-click, create a rule, and forget it. But it sounds as simple only on words. So.
Okay, so basically you collect all the data from the blocking systems and then you can find something.
It shouldn't be collection from the blocking system because as I was telling, some packets may not go to the blocking system. You have to be before the blocking system, then you will know what happened.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll take one last question if it's the case. If not, we'll be closing. Okay, one last question.
You mentioned the monetizing these flows, but there's also, this can also be used for disruptive attacks. Can you do like denial of service for an entire, disrupt connections in an entire region?
Sure, so I didn't put it on the slide, so I already told about Telefonica O2, and in 2016, in February, I think the malicious packet came to Norway, Telenor, and just 3 million of subscribers, I mean, it's like half of Norway, I guess, were for 3 hours without network coverage. So basically, the home location register was just repeatedly rebooting, and they couldn't do anything. So, and that was caused by the malicious packet that the software didn't recognize properly. Yeah, so basically that's like one of the loudest cases we know, but many operators just try not to get that into the news. Like, okay, steal the money, we're gonna somehow handle it. So basically, we can just imagine how many money losses are caused by the SS7 vulnerabilities, and how many subscribers are tracked, and what disruptions are made to the operators.
Thank you, everyone. It's a wrap. Thank you, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you for attending.